Hello, and welcome to Webcrawlers, the podcast where we do a deep dive into the weirdest, strangest, and most mysterious corners of the internet. We're called Webcrawlers because we're a podcast about interesting things we looked up on the web. I'm Allie Siegel.
And I'm Melissa Stetton.
We have a Patreon where you can get access to ad-free episodes and video episodes a day early, merchandise discounts, and fun bonus episodes and activities. That sounds like we have like coloring books or something.
We got coloring books and mazes.
Yeah, like Highlights magazine.
Word finds.
Yeah. You can join for as little as $2 a month by going to patreon.com/webcrawlers. Melissa, who are our patrons for this week?
Morgan and Sean.
Welcome to the team, guys. Also, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And call into our hotline and leave a voicemail if you'd like to be on our mailbag episodes. Leave a message about something we've discussed in an episode. Tell us a secret. Shh. A story or whatever you'd like. The number is
626-63 for 2069. Nice.
Thank you, Joran, for a new jingle. He nailed it.
It was so good. Joran,
it's great.
Always coming through with the great jingles. Thank you so much. Also, guys, we're doing a new weekly episode called Bimbo News, where we'll summarize all the wackiest news stories of the week so you have something to talk about at parties.
Yeah, parties.
Yeah, or
all those parties you guys go to.
Yeah, all the ravers that all you really anxious introverts who listen to our podcast are going to. Or something to talk about on the Discord, to your partner, your cat, whatever.
Cat.
To your Sims family, whatever
your
it may
Sims
be.
family, your real family.
So look for our news segment, Bimbo News. Melissa, what are we talking about today?
I mean, obviously, we're going to talk about this submersible that's been in the news all last week. It's all I can think about.
This is so crazy. And I was out of town in Mexico for a while this was happening, so I'm not fully caught up on all of this. I don't know all the ins and outs, so I'm very excited to hear this episode.
I've been obsessed with this news story. Like, it's crazy. I've watched so many documentaries about like submarines and James Cameron.
Well, you posted on your Instagram stories. I saw this right before we started recording. You watched a 3-hour reenactment of the Titanic sinking.
Look, 2 nights ago, Martin loves YouTube. He's big on YouTube, and he put on this thing like when we go to bed, we always watch something like for a few minutes. He put on this YouTube of like the real-time animation of the Titanic sinking. And I was
crazy.
like, 3 hours. I was like, boring.
Yeah,
and then, like
you're
5
riveted.
minutes in, I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, it's just, and it has little like captions of like what time it is, minute by minute, what time, what's happening. It's really good.
That's insane. I mean, you know what? That's actually cool.
Maria sent this James Cameron documentary.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what you should watch? I was like, this Titanic. She's like, oh my God, I saw it. I bookmarked it. I'm like, it's shockingly interesting.
I bet. I've never been into the Titanic. I've never been one of those people who've been fascinated on it. Yeah, I'm not a Titaniac. Now I'm a little curious about it.
I know, like the start of last week, I was like, who are these people obsessed with the Titanic? They have to go down there. And now I'm like, oh, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you're like, I get it. I'm
you never hear from me again in like 2 years. Like, I'm on this experimental submersible. I'm like, it's safe, guys. It's safe.
Yeah. So what did you learn? What did you investigate?
Oh boy. So I tried to find all the facts, all the news stories. Everything is hopefully accurate. I got from AP News, PBS, and New York Times, NPR. Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you've heard about the death of 5 men who were on a submersible, which is different than a submarine. And I'll go over the differences later.
Interesting. Okay.
To see the Titanic wreckage that's 12,500 feet under the North Atlantic Ocean.
Huh.
That's about 2.5 miles down into the dark ass scary ocean where all the giant squid live.
Oh, Jesus.
Giant squid, by the way, which can grow up to 40 feet.
That's so weird that you say that because I know squid and octopus.
Did you eat some calamari in Mexico?
Adam did. My boyfriend did. And I actually am on a no octopus
I don't eat octopus anymore either.
And I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm like, I will eat anything but octopus.
Because did you watch My Octopus Teacher?
Yes. I'm like, octopi are too smart. And I'm not fucking with that. Yeah. I feel too bad.
Done. Not into it.
I'm done with octopus.
I'm done. Okay. So this journey, it's $250,000 to go down in this submersible. It takes 2 to 3 hours to get down there. And then, so you're down there for like 3 to 4 hours viewing the wreckage. And then it takes about 2 hours to go back up. So all in all, it's like 4 or 5, 8, 9 hour trip.
It was supposed to be like that short. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So a ship takes the people out 400 miles off the coast of Cape Cod into the ocean. It's the submersible is like, they put it on a ship to take it out there because it can't. Right. You have to take it out there to drop it down. So they submerged at 8 a.m. on Sunday. What was Father's Day? Was it the 19th?
I think so, yeah.
An hour and 45 minutes into the trip, they lost communication with like the mothership.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And it wasn't unusual to lose communication because that's happened many times with this
I'm sure, yeah.
submersible. So what happens they send the ship text messages every 15 minutes of their location and depth because GPS doesn't work underwater. Like radio waves can't travel underwater. So every 15 minutes they check in like with how deep they are, their location, like if everything's going okay. The ship was supposed to come back up around 2:30 p.m. But it didn't. What's crazy is that the OceanGate ship, the company that runs this, didn't alert the Coast Guard until 5:40 p.m., which is 8 hours after they lost communication. Now, I don't know if this was because they lose communication all the time. They're like, oh, well, if they don't pop back up, we'll notify them. But like they waited a while.
Yeah, that's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Maybe they were like trying to cover their ass because they're like, oh, fuck, like did something happen? Let's just hope someone comes up.
Because I think that's happened in the past where they just lose communication and they end up popping back up. They're like, oh, yeah, everything's fine.
Right.
Everything's fine. They assumed that they were either stuck in some old fishing net or debris that like caused a mechanical failure, because I guess that can happen. Because it's not a very big submarine. The inside is like as big as a minivan.
Oh my God,
tiny. Really?
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Or they imploded. At the same time, they lost communication. And that's what I thought. I was like, oh, they imploded. Because, like, if they lost power, the emergency safety system would kick in.
Oh, interesting.
And that alerts the vessel to shed the weight it used to descend to the shipwreck. It doesn't, because what happens is it goes down, it has all this weight on it to pull it down. There's no, like, engine to, like...
oh shit, really?
It's weight that's bringing it down. So when they come back up, they drop the weight. Some of the weight is like,
yo mama,
it's like construction pipes or like bags full of sand. There's like heavy things on it that they leave down at the bottom of the ocean and then they pop back up. I had no idea.
Do normal submarines have engines or is it all this
normal
weight thing?
Submersibles?
Oh.
Submarines have engines. Submarines are the big.
Well, right. Well, that's what I was asking. So submarines have engines. Submersibles
do not. Submersibles are just balls of.
I don't like the sounds of this.
No, but that's what they've been. Submersibles are like, it's a thing. Like people build them mostly out of steel. There's another emergency system. They have sandbags that I guess dissolve at some point. So even if everyone on the ship is knocked out, the sandbags dissolve after a certain amount of hours and the ship will float back up to the top.
Oh,
so there's all these emergency systems in place if they lose power to go back to the top. That's why I was like, well, if they're not at the top,
something's happened.
Something happened.
Right.
But also if they were bobbing at the top of the ocean, they wouldn't be able to get out because it's bolted from the outside with 17 bolts.
So
It's crazy.
So there was like a whole team of people who like bolted them in there once they got in, and then once they get to the top would have to bolt them out.
Yes, they
unscrew them.
They pick up the ship, they put it back on, or they pick up the submersible, they put it back on the ship, they unbolt. There's a whole team.
I wouldn't do that in the first place.
No,
I would never
no.
go into something that I couldn't get out myself that depended on people from the outside taking me out.
That's that in itself.
Yeah, that would
scares
be
me.
number one for me of being like, nope.
Yeah. So the difference between a submersible and a submarine is that the submersible is launched from like this mothership. Like it doesn't have a large propulsion system, doesn't have a ballast system. Basically, it's just a thing that's just thrown into the ocean.
That's crazy.
And unlike submarines, submersibles have like a viewport. They have cameras on the outside, and they have like limited power reserves. So like the power in the submersibles like has thrusters where it can like, go forward and backward, left and right. It can, travel through the water. It just can't go like up and down or like.
Yeah.
Submarines are extremely safe because they have all these regulations that have been standard for decades. Like the reason no one has innovated a new type of submersible is because nothing has passed safety tests.
Yeah.
Like submarines are made out of steel and they've been like tested years and years and like been used like over and over again by like the Navy. So they know that they're going to work.
Why would you use a submersible in the first place instead of a submarine?
They do work. Ones that are made out of steel and titanium, those ones hold maybe one, two, or three people. They're very tiny.
Can they go deeper than submarines?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good
Like, is that why you would
question.
use a submersible versus a submarine? Because I don't understand when you would ever decide to use a submersible instead.
Because James Cameron made a submersible to go 35,000 feet down. Yeah, what's the deepest a submarine has ever been? But yeah, most underwater research is conducted using like unmanned robotic vehicles. That have,
Right.
like cameras on them. That's mostly how they do them. Oh, Chinese submarine reaches deepest place on Earth. So yeah, submarines have been down there. They're just a lot bigger. I think it's like people who are not affiliated with like the Navy or the government. Like they're made by like citizens who just want to explore.
Who just like don't want to follow rules, maybe like not regulation.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about the occupants on this submersible. Stockton Rush, he's the CEO of OceanGate, and he was also the pilot controlling the submersible. Hamish Harding, he's a 58-year-old British billionaire, explorer, space tourist. He made a dive in 2021 to the deepest point on Earth, Challenger Deep, in the Mariana Trench, in a 2-person submersible made from titanium. So he's been in a submersible
God.
that was regulated. He traveled to space in Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin rocket last year.
Oh, wow.
So he's just a billionaire who like goes on
Does
these
stuff. Yeah.
trips. Another person on it was Paul Henry Nargeolet. He's 77. He's a French oceanographer and a Titanic expert. A British-Pakistani businessman, Shahzada Dawood, and then his son, Sulman, who's 19 years old. And there's a couple articles about the son. There was one where the aunt, Azmi, told NBC News that her nephew, Sulman, informed a relative that he wasn't very up for it about the trip and he was terrified. He ended up going because the trip was on Father's Day and he wanted to please his dad, who was like super into the Titanic. But then you sent me the article today where the mother was like, no, the son was excited because she was going to go, I guess, and she gave up his seat to her son.
Yeah.
And
'cause
he
wanted
brought a
to go.
Rubik's Cube because he wanted to solve a Rubik's Cube at the bottom because he could solve it in like 12 seconds or something.
Oh, God.
That's so sad. It's so sad.
Speaking of which, we'll talk about it in the news episode, but the Rubik's Cube, the world's fastest Rubik's Cube time was just...
We got a new champion?
Yeah, we have a new champion.
Oh, that's
the
exciting.
world record was broken.
Wow. That's exciting news.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after the disappearance, the Navy heard a sound in the ocean. So according to the Associated Press, after the craft was reported missing, the U.S. Navy analyzed its acoustic data and found an anomaly that was consistent with an implosion or explosion in the general vicinity of where the Titan submersible was operating when communications were lost.
Oh, God.
Though it wasn't made public at the time, the Navy passed that information on Sunday to the Coast Guard. So the Navy heard a sound that the media didn't hear about this until Thursday or Friday.
So everyone was just speculating.
Yeah, the Coast Guard was like, okay, like it could have been anything, but like it happened at the exact moment they lost communications.
In the exact place where they lost communication.
Could have been a lot of things. And also the Navy is not saying what type of equipment they use to detect it because they don't want other countries knowing our tricks.
What they have
to detect secret enemy submarines. Huh. So that's crazy. They heard it Sunday, but they didn't release that information until Thursday.
That's crazy.
But then on Wednesday, there was a knocking noise heard. So sonar buoys picked up a knocking noise that was heard every 30 minutes in the vicinity of where they could possibly be. But they were like, the noises could have been from all the boats, the crew, marine wildlife, could have been a piece of the Titanic wreck moving in the current, or it could have been a giant squid.
Because if it imploded, there's no way that they would have been alive and knocking on the, right?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, that's why the knocking noise was like, I think now they've put out a new story that was like, yeah, we're pretty sure it was unrelated.
Yeah.
Okay, so this submersible, it's called the Titan, and it's made more than 24 deep sea dives.
Oh, geez.
But it has only visited the Titanic twice, I believe. There's like conflicting stories. I think it's twice. Huh. And this was the only mission in 2023 because of the weather.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think they did one in 2021, one in 2022, and then this was the only one this year. So what they do is they allocate 5 days to try to go to the Titanic. Like you buy your ticket, you go out on this ship for 5 days. And if you're lucky, you can go down there multiple times.
Oh, gosh.
But things go wrong, like weather. There's like battery issues. You got to come back up. So like you're very lucky even if you just get down there once.
Right.
Like it's very rare to go down there more than once. So this thing, it's made from a carbon fiber hull that connects two domes made of composite titanium, which is a material that can withstand deep sea pressures, the titanium. It's known.
God.
It has a transponder and a transceiver, which receives sonar signal. It's battery operated. It's controlled by a Logitech video game controller. But I guess a lot of submarines have similar controllers to like go, forward and back, left and right. But I mean, it seems crazy.
Insane to me.
Seems crazy. It has thrusters. It's equipped with 96 hours of oxygen for 5 people. So that's 4 days. I mean, inside is about the size of a minivan. There's a tiny toilet with a little plastic bottle thing that you peed in. And the overhead light was like a glow stick looking thing. And he said a lot of the parts were purchased from Camping World.
I mean, this is kind of like a makeshift.
Yes. Yes.
You couldn't pay me $250,000 to go on
this. Absolutely not. So yeah, I said there's 7 different ways to rise to the surface. The construction pipes uses ballast. There's a balloon inflates as like an emergency system to bring them up to the top. You could release the legs of the sub that are made from steel. Sandbag dissolves. So no other submersible can seat 5 people. This is the first of its kind. The problem with making it bigger inside is that when you elongate the cabin space, it increases the pressure load in the midsection, which increases fatigue and causes delamination. And it was explained like it's like bending a wire back and forth until it breaks. When it goes down there, it compacts and then it expands when it comes back up from the pressure. And it does that over and over again. And steel, titanium, that's proven that it's fine. But this has not been proven. Carbon fiber has not been proven that it can withstand all of this pressure. And this delamination thing, it's like splitting wood down the grain. Like it just kind of breaks.
Oh, Jesus.
It causes cracks. So the hull, which is like the body of it, it was 5 inches thick, had repeated stress over the course of about 24 previous dives. So like...
Of course, yeah.
It's going in, going out, going in, going out. And each trip would put tiny cracks in the structure. Started out as like undetectable, but then it would eventually become, critical, and it would just produce uncontrollable cracks and it would just split. And you can't see that.
This is...
Like, you don't know.
This is crazy.
It's crazy. So this company, OceanGate, was founded by Stockton Rush in 2009. He was an aerospace engineer and pilot. He's not a stupid guy. He's a smart guy. Also, crazy fact. So Stockton's wife, Wendy Rush, she is the great-great-granddaughter of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who were first-class passengers on the Titanic. Isidore was a co-owner of Macy's. And this is crazy. So when the Titanic was sinking, Isidore, the husband, was offered a seat on a lifeboat, but he refused to take it until all the women and children had been given lifeboats.
Wow.
So Ida, his wife, was offered a seat, but she refused. She didn't want to leave her husband. And they were last seen standing together on the ship before it went under. So if you remember in the Titanic, James Cameron included a fictionalized version of them. They're the elderly couple laying in bed, like, hugging.
Yeah.
When the water came in. That's them.
That's fucking insane.
It's crazy.
I mean, that probably inspired this whole thing for him.
See, I don't know. I was trying to figure out, did Stockton marrying Wendy, did he find out about her backstory and that was what caused him to be so interested in the Titanic? Or did he meet Wendy through like researching Titanic?
Titanic Facebook page? Titanic lovers Facebook group?
Like, I don't know. Like, did they meet because of Titanic or was he interested?
I don't know.
Because of
That's
her family?
crazy.
I don't know. But anyway, that family needs to stay away from that part of the ocean. That's like...
Yeah, you think?
That's crazy. So then in 2018, OceanGate's director of marine operations, David Lockridge, he started working on a report. It was a scathing document in which he said the craft needed more testing, and he stressed the potential dangers to passengers of the Titan as the submersible reached extreme depths. He was like a whistleblower. So
Good.
Stockton refused to have the Titan inspected because he was unwilling to pay for an assessment. This is what this David guy said. David Lockridge, he learned that the viewport that lets passengers see outside the craft was only certified to work in depths up to 4,200 feet. The Titanic is 12,000 feet. And then this David guy was fired immediately at that meeting.
Shut up.
Yeah. And then I guess he was talking about this to people, and then OceanGate sued him for breach of contract, misappropriation of trade secrets, and then David countersued back, and then they settled out of court in 2018.
Oh my God.
But he was like talking about this. So then 2 months later, 38 people who were like industry leaders, deep sea explorers, oceanographers, members of the Manned Underwater Vehicles Committee, who wrote a letter to Stockton Rush that the company's experimental approach and its decision to forego a traditional assessment could lead to potentially catastrophic problems. And this letter also said the marketing of the Titan had been misleading because it claimed the submersible met safety standards of a risk assessment company known as DNV, even though this company had no plans to certify the sub.
Oh.
He was claiming that it was like assessed.
That's
because it takes years and it's very expensive to certify.
I hope that these families sue.
I don't know.
OceanGate,
they signed,
I don't even know.
You
the
signed
waivers.
So I don't know. So that's one of the reasons why it's suspected why Stockton didn't go through with all the testing. Stockton responded to the letter and said that the industry standards were stifling innovation. He's like, they're just putting these rules on things. Like, people just want to innovate and make things. Like, no, there's reasons for this.
Yeah.
So then OceanGate posted a blog in 2019 titled, "Why Isn't Titan Classed?" And they said because it's so innovative that it could take years to get certified by the usual assessment agencies. And so they avoided having to abide by U.S. regulations by deploying the vessel in international waters where Coast Guard rules did not apply.
That's so fucked.
Life hack. So the sub had acoustic sensors and strain gauges to alert them to any cracks. That was like their safety thing. They're like, we have this sensor in place. By the time you're alerted, it's too late. Like, what are you going to do? If it's like alert, crack, and thing, and then it just implodes.
And then it implodes.
Do?
Yeah.
It's too late.
It's time to say a prayer.
Yeah, crazy. So a man who was supposed to go on this visit but couldn't because of work scheduling said he had a conversation with Stockton that has now haunted him. He said Stockton told him that he had gotten the carbon fiber used to make the Titan at a big discount from Boeing because it was past its shelf life for use in airplanes.
Oh my God.
What do you do? Crazy.
I don't know. Are you going to talk about the message, the DM we got?
Yes.
Okay.
So we got an email that from a anonymous person that says, "I'm a bimbo that worked at OceanGate." Shh. They sent a longer email, but then replied back was like, "My legal advisor says, like, maybe cut some, there's a lot of personal information out that could, identify this person." So this amended statement says, "I'm a bimbo familiar with the matter, simply letting you know that Stockton Rush attended the rich boy circle jerk known as Bohemian Grove."
Yes. And we've done episodes on Bohemian Grove. If you don't remember, people think it's like an Illuminati campground.
Just a bunch of old rich dudes go there. They put on this play. They like burn this effigy.
Yeah,
they
like
pee on
weird
trees.
ceremonies. It's in Monte Rio, California. It's a gentleman's club.
Yeah.
There's a 2-week camp every year where just government officials, business leaders, former presidents, and people of power come, and it's totally closed off and no one really knows what's happening there.
Yeah.
So I guess he was part of it.
Yeah, this person was like, he goes there and they've talked to him about it, but that's all they said. That's all
we're allowed to share.
They said.
Yeah. So because they don't want to be sued.
There's a CBS report going around. David Pogue, he was a reporter. Was it earlier this year? It was a report that came out. And it showed him like signing paperwork before getting on board that said the Titan was an experimental vessel that had not been approved or certified by any regulatory body, could result in physical injury, emotional trauma, or death. Like it said death like 10 times.
Yeah, I think he was like, it said death 3 times on the first page or something, or in the first paragraph.
So in that report, Stockton claimed he worked with Boeing, NASA, and University of Washington to make sure the submersible was in good shape. But NASA released a statement that said its personnel were consulted but did not conduct testing or help build the vessel. And then the executive director of the University of Washington's physics lab said the school was not involved in the design, engineering, or testing of the Titan submersible. They did previously work with OceanGate on another submersible which was called the Cyclops 1, which was only rated to go down to 1,600 feet. And they ended their relationship with OceanGate after that. And then a Boeing spokesperson also said they were not involved in designing or building the Titan. They're all like, I don't know him. We don't know him.
I don't know. He doesn't go to school here.
Here's
the thing is, even if, let's say, you sign a consent form, if everything the consent form is based on is false, I would imagine that the consent, you can contest whatever you signed.
I'm
if you
sure
signed,
there's going to be lawsuits and stuff.
I hope so. Because, I mean, you signed based on false information.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I hope lawsuits, I hope lawsuits happen.
I'm sure they will be. Okay, so then last week, Thursday, the ROVs, which are the remote operated vehicles,
right,
found debris consistent with catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber.
Oh,
roughly 1,600 feet from the Titanic wreckage. They found the nose cone of the sub, the front end bell of the pressure hole, like the ends of it, which were made out of titanium. So those, I'm assuming when it imploded, those popped off.
Yeah.
At the end and they sunk. So what happens in an implosion, it's the opposite of an explosion.
Thank you.
So matter and energy collapse inward. So before you even know what happens, you're vaporized. So,
well, I mean, that's good, I guess.
Best case scenario, if they were to die, is this, for sure. Because being at the bottom of the ocean, knowing you're going to die it's pitch black in this tiny room, 5 people, and probably just smells like pee.
And running out of oxygen.
Whatever. No food, no water. That's the worst possible way to die, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that. Maria was like, I haven't slept in 2 days. I'm like so freaked out by this. Yeah.
Horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. Like what I would die. I would die.
It's terrible. Yeah.
So before you even know what happens, it implodes. So the pain signals don't even have enough time to reach your brain. So even if you know, you hear a crack, you're like, oh fuck, and you're just gone.
You're gone.
You don't feel anything.
Honestly, like that's the best. I mean, that's the only good news out of this.
But then I was watching interviews with James Cameron. For some reason, he thinks they may have been on their way back up because they knew something was wrong.
Oh.
So I don't know if he's just like assuming that, or I'm not sure how. I mean, he knew the Navy heard the sound before anybody else. He's got people on the inside.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
People were asking, well, can they recover the bodies? Oh no, the bodies do not exist anymore.
Oh, right, because they're just totally imploded.
Tiny little pieces. Like they imploded. And this would have taken place within a fraction of a millisecond. So any part of the body that contains oxygen gets crushed inward.
Whoa.
There's like animations of implosions and it's crazy.
Jesus Christ.
And the atmospheric pressure down there is more than 360 times than what humans are exposed to at sea level. It's like being underneath the weight of the Empire State Building, like on all sides, like just.
Oh my God.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. And Mythbusters did an experiment. They made like a meat person. I think they used like pig parts or something to they put them in a suit and they put them down 300 feet and then they released the pressure to see what would happen.
Oh my God.
And it just it imploded, but then all of the blood came out and
oh my
filled
God,
the helmet.
That's horrible.
But it happened kind of slow. And that was 300 feet. So that was I think that was 10 atmospheric pressures or something.
Jesus
and it happened,
Christ.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It was horrible.
And then James Cameron, he was doing some interviews. He has made 33 trips to the Titanic.
What?
Yeah, he went to the Mariana Trench and the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest part of the ocean.
But
he made a documentary about it. It's crazy. It's 35,000 feet. He built his own sub. His brother, I think, is like an engineer too. So they built their own sub. He invented equipment to record audio underwater for the abyss. Like him and his brother have like all these patents on inventions.
He must be so rich.
He's very rich, yes.
Well, that's crazy.
But like you'll see his submersible, only he can fit in it. It's got wires and buttons and screens everywhere.
Yeah.
And they show him making it. It's a steel ball. They show them like putting it like in water, like it catches on fire, like it's pressure, like it's crazy. It's like nothing can get through that thing.
Yeah, well, he's not trying to die. James Cameron's not trying to.
No. And they test it. The documentary is really cool. They test it by like they go down like 10 feet and then some things go wrong. They go down 100 feet. They keep going down further and further until like everything's working.
Right.
And like even a few things went wrong when he went to the seafloor. Like one of the hydraulic arms was like leaking oil.
Oh,
because he like wanted to gather up some sand. And like he discovered like new bacteria strains and like he discovered new species of jellyfish.
James Cameron.
But it's crazy because like you hear him, there's like something, like it knocks on something. He's like, oh, something went wrong. But he's so calm. He's like, how do we fix this? Dude, like just fixing it. And then.
Is James Cameron problematic at all? Or is he like, okay?
No, I don't think so.
Like, was his divorce with Catherine Bigelow like amicable or like?
I think so. I haven't heard any. I don't think he's got any bad. Yeah, he was married to Linda Hamilton from
Terminator. He's had a lot of wives.
Yeah.
4 wives.
I
would be fascinated by a man who could do all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's like an engineer who like decided to make movies.
That's crazy.
He's a genius.
We don't, if he is problematic, we don't know. So
I don't think so.
So we're just talking about how amazing we think he is. I always feel like we're going to get like milkshake duck.
I know.
Like,
I don't know if you know this, but James
has actually murdered 300 people.
So James Cameron was on, I think he was on like CNN, ABC. He said he personally never believed in the sort of carbon fiber cylindrical hull that the company used. He said it was a horrible idea.
Yeah.
That just sounded bad on its face. He's like, pressure hulls should be made out of material like steel, titanium, ceramic, or acrylic in order to do modeling and finite element analysis to understand the number of cycles it can take. But that's not the case with composite material like carbon fiber.
Or especially expired carbon fiber.
Expired carbon fiber from an airplane.
Yeah, that
you got
another company has said like we're not going to use it because it doesn't work anymore, but you can have it if you'd like.
So he said, we all knew that the danger was delamination and progressive failure over time and what they call cycling fatigue. And we knew if the sub passed its pressure test, it wasn't going to fail on its first dive, but it's going to fail over time, which is insidious. You don't get that with steel or titanium.
Jesus Christ.
And he compared OceanGate to his Titanic dives like apples and oranges. He's like, I dove with Russian submersibles that use very, very well understood design methodologies and flawless operating record. And he also said, I'm struck by the similarity of the Titanic disaster itself, where the captain was repeatedly warned about ice ahead of his ship, and yet he steamed up full speed into an ice field on a moonless night, and many people died as a result.
That's interesting. I mean,
and he's like, and for a very similar tragedy, where warnings went unheeded to take place at this same exact site with all the diving that's going on around the world, it's just astonishing. It's really quite surreal.
Hubris. It's the dangers of hubris.
There's a documentary called Ghosts of the Abyss. I
haven't seen it yet.
It's James Cameron and Bill Paxton going down to see the Titanic. And it's really cool. But what's crazy, at the end of the documentary, this happened they went down September 11th, 2001. They come back up and people are like, oh, by the way, the worst terrorist attack in history has just happened.
That's fucking insane. Are you serious?
Yeah, they're like 9/11 just happened. And they're like, what the fuck? Like they were down at the Titanic. It's crazy.
I
That's
mean,
how the documentary ends.
that's a whole new documentary.
Like, yeah,
That's like,
it's crazy. Bill Paxton's like, yeah, this all seems kind of stupid now. Like we just went down there, like all these people died.
holy shit. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then I was driving back from getting Ripley her passport, and I was listening to NPR. And this guy was doing an interview. This deep sea explorer, G. Michael Harris, who's been down to the Titanic 14 times. He's friends with P.H. Nargeolet, who was on the Titan, and he begged his friend not to go on this thing. Also, he was like talking mad shit about everyone. He was the interviewer asked him about Hamish Harding, the billionaire, and about him being an explorer. And G. Michael Harris said, a guy like Hamish, God rest his soul, I don't know that explorer is a proper term for someone like him, just for the simple fact that that's not his career. His career was something else where he was unable to afford to go on this adventure. Like we have people out there who are explorers risking their lives every day, not taking one trip to the Titanic. Like this guy was pissed.
It's like a hobby, yeah.
Yeah. And he said the accident makes the rest of the deep sea exploring community look bad. He's like, you don't think I would want to build a sub that I could fit 5 people into instead of being cramped with 2 other people inside of a little 6-foot ball?
Right.
Like the innovation and technology just isn't there yet. And he said this vessel was 22 feet long. It was never a question of if it was going to have failure. It was when.
Yeah.
And then yeah. I recorded some audio of what he said.
That says a man needs to know his limitations. And you just can't fix stupid. And stupid games will win you stupid prizes. And it's terrible because the reason we're all so upset is not only for the loss of life, but because it was so unnecessary. It was unnecessary. Everyone in the industry knew that this vessel had no business being out there. Had no business being on the Titanic. None.
Yeah, this guy is pissed. I mean, like, rightfully so.
Yeah, 100%. Totally.
And then, this video yesterday that I sent to you, this YouTuber, did you watch the video?
No, I think I was on the airplane.
This YouTuber, Josh, aka Dalmid, he was invited to the sub a few days before the implosion to go on a journey. And it's like a 20-minute video, and he documents like him going. This was a few days before. He went there with his girlfriend, and he's like, there's a video of like the boat you go on, and then the video of Stockton, and then they're talking about communication issues in the video because they ended up not going down the Titanic because the computer broke or something. They had to reset it, and then like they were just talking about all sorts of issues they were having.
Oh my God.
And then Stockton invited him. He's like, well, we're going to do a test dive to 3,000 feet. Do you want to go on that? And he's like, yeah, okay. So like it shows him getting in the sub.
Oh, Jesus.
With like 4 other people. And like it shows it being bolted closed. And you're like, that's it? That's how. And then there's like someone scuba diving out, like giving them hand signals of like the door's locked or something. And like no one knows what they're saying.
Oh my
and they're like,
God.
Just give them an okay sign. You're like, what is going on? But they go down, I think, a few feet, and then they lost communication, or like the battery broke. So they went back up. Thank God for that guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, like,
he would have gone down, like, because the next trip they made was down to the Titanic, and they all died.
I wououldn't like be like, oh, our last trip was kind of fucked up, so let's do another one a few days later.
That's what they do. They're constantly repairing things on that thing.
Oh my God, this is horrible. What a tragedy.
Yeah. And then there was this Hamish Harding's stepson, that whole thing that went down.
Okay, so I don't know. This was one thing where I like didn't understand because I was away and I was like seeing all these articles and like Blink 182 and all this, and I was like, I
There was
don't
a
understand.
tweet that was like, the Blink-182 stepson got into a feud with Cardi B, and turns out he was in jail for stalking and harassing DJs. So this guy is 37. He is the son of Linda Harding, who is married to Hamish Harding.
Okay.
His name is Brian. He tweeted, "My stepdad Hamish is on the submarine lost at sea. I'm devastated, but coming to the San Diego show tonight, so can you guys give me hope and cheer me up?" He tweeted at Blink-182. And so everyone was like, okay. People process grief in different ways. Let's just let him go to Blink-182. He also tweeted directly at Tom DeLonge, which read, "My stepdad is missing in the sub at the Titanic site. I'm here at the San Diego show for support. Thanks."
He knew Tom DeLonge would get on that.
Yeah. So everyone's like, okay, that's interesting. And then he tweeted, one tweet was like, say prayers for my family. Then the next tweet was like a quote tweet of an OnlyFans model that was like, "Hey, I'm single." And everyone's like, what?
It's crazy. This guy's just trying to capitalize off 15 minutes of
He's just trying
what
to
he
get
would think
laid.
is fame. Oh my God.
But then like Cardi B called him out for like going to the concert, and like he called Cardi B a bitch. And then
Cardi B keeps it real. I love Cardi B.
There was just a whole feud. People looked into this guy. Turns out he was arrested in June 2021 and charged with online stalking and accused of allegedly posting threatening tweets to women in the rave community. He posted tweets in 2021 saying he was going to shoot up the Las Vegas Millennium show, like a EDM show. He was sending excessive DMs to ravers on Twitter, posting threats and dangerous messages to women who rejected him. He allegedly targeted this DJ Alice in Wonderland by saying that he would show up to her apartment. And he also had a tattoo of her. And so I looked up this DJ. I was like, I've never heard of her. And I saw that she just had a baby. And I'm like, oh my God, she had a baby with a guy I dated in like 2009.
Well, you know what's also funny is ChatGPT gets me confused with her.
Oh.
Because one time I asked I was like, ChatGPT, like, who is Ali Siegel? Or I was like, who is Alison Siegel? And it was like, Alison Siegel is an Australian writer and music producer. And I was like, what? And then
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, but that was true. And I was like, oh God, why? It's all connected.
Who is the person?
This guy named Ty West.
You dated Ty West? Melissa, you're so funny.
Maybe it was like 2006, like when I first moved to LA. It was before he is famous.
She kind of looks like a combination between you and me.
She does. I was like, oh, they had a baby. Congrats to the happy couple. They just got engaged too. Congrats to the happy couple. Yeah, so this guy, Brian, was arrested again. He was in prison in San Diego, and he filed a suit against San Diego County for negligence, saying he was denied access to diabetes drugs, that he was brutally attacked by fellow inmates.
What?
He's
crazy.
problematic.
Yeah.
He deleted his Twitter.
As he should.
Yeah. That was also, it was just such a crazy layer on top of like
everything that's going on.
Yeah. So like, yeah. Like it's infuriating because like I know people want to be like innovative and like explore things.
Right.
And like you can do that. Do that all you want. But like don't claim it's safe and take people with you, you know?
I'm also going to say maybe, except for James Cameron, not a huge fan of Submarine Bros. Didn't we do another episode on that submarine guy who took that journalist down and like killed her?
Yeah, in was it Denmark or Copenhagen or somewhere up there? Yeah. Built his own submarine.
Built his own sub. And I think that I think there might actually be a new documentary about that happening. I think it's on Netflix or something. I saw a documentary.
Yeah, there was like a fictionalized show about that. But yeah, there is a documentary about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, my take on this,
Bros.
submarine bros, I wouldn't trust them.
Don't do it.
Anyone other than the Wright brothers, anyone who makes their own craft that gets you places, I wouldn't trust it.
You got to have regulations.
Yeah, have some sort of regulations.
Have it regulated.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see how this continues to unfold and what a tragedy.
What's going to happen to them?
Yeah, seriously. If you guys have any more information or takes, or if you also worked at OceanGate and want to spill the tea, Melissa, where can people reach us?
You can email us at webcrawlerspod@gmail.com.
All right. Well, I'm Allie Siegel.
And I'm Melissa Stetton.
Stay safe out there.
Stay safe.
Powered by Acast.